What are the key differences between new construction and land development? There's some nuances here that we really got to dive into so that you can capitalize on both of these opportunities. My name's Anton Stetner of RESG. This particular topic has made me multiple seven figures, and I want you to go on this journey with me and understand this. You can break land development and new construction into two main categories inside of your head. Land development is everything happening in the horizontal world. New construction is everything happening in the vertical world. So when we're talking about them, as we break them up like that, land development has to happen first. I have to have my building pad ready to go in order to be able to start the new construction process. So where does land development start? Land development starts in the entitlement process. So we show up and we've got just raw land. It's sitting there. Maybe it's cleared. Maybe it's not cleared. Maybe it's just covered in trees. With that raw land, we've then got to go get the survey, the wetland delineation, the geotechnical report, the topo map on the property to know how the topography is running. We need to figure out where the water is going to drain to, where the utilities are coming from, both the power, the water, the sewer. That starts by hiring our civil engineers and hiring our consultants in order to start solving the undeveloped land problem. The next process is going into the entitlement process, where I'm trying to figure out and get the local municipality to give me documentation that says something is approved. There is a massive difference between the entitlement process and a building permit. The entitlement process has to happen during the land development cycle to be approved to conduct the land development. If we're talking about a large plat, that would be getting a subdivision approval, the civil construction drawing approval, and the final approval. If we're talking about building a home on a single lot in a rural area, that would be getting the land disturbing activities approval, getting the clearing and grading approval, figuring out all the utilities, and then going for my permit. So that land development approval is its own approval before the permit. That process, depending on it, will take anywhere from 10 weeks to a year. Now, why would it take longer? If you're doing a full subdivision, that is a longer process. That's probably a year to 2 years. But if the land is ready to go, the building pad is in there, then my approval is going to go much quicker. So this is why we're looking at the land development process up front. Now let's assume and switch gears to the next part of this process that the land development approvals are done. So now I have buildable land or a buildable lot. Once I have buildable land and a buildable lot, I actually end up redoing part of the same process. I've got to make sure I've got the surveying, make sure I've got the wetland delineation, make sure I understand the topography, make sure I understand the geotechnical report. Now I start calculating the impervious surface for the structure we're going to put on there, and we figure out where the structure is going to fit based on the setbacks and how we're going to build it. As the land development is approved, you're generally going to do a bunch of work on the horizontal. You're going to install the utilities. You're going to bring in the power, the water, the sewer lines. You're going to put the road in. A lot of the time, if I'm talking about a single family home, we will be working on that building permit at the same time we're doing this. If we're talking about a subdivision or a binding site plan, though, you have to get all the work done before they will allow the next set of building permits to happen. What we've tried to do here in this video is just go over this very quickly. This is an extremely convoluted process. We wanted to illustrate to you the difference between land development and new construction. And the difference is land development is all about the horizontal and the new construction is the going vertical. So now we're going in for the building permit. To go vertical, I go get my building permit. Generally speaking, in both of these processes, they're going to kick it back anywhere between 1 to 3 times for review. I've met a lot of our buyers and our investors and even big developers who every time they get a review, they feel defeated, like they failed. Understand it's just the process. They always tell you what they want. They tell you how to fix it. And if they don't, you need to go in and have a conversation with them face to face and talk through the problem in order to understand it. Once I have the building permit approved, I can now start the new construction process. That's where we're gonna go dig the foundation hole. We're gonna start building the home. There's gonna be inspections along the way for plumbing, electrical, roof, framing, things like that. Once the house is all the way complete, I can now get the certificate of occupancy. Then that certificate of occupancy says my new construction process is done. As you have questions about this, please reach out to us. Let's go into further detail. We've also recorded a whole bunch of videos here on our channel that you can subscribe and watch. They'll talk more about these specific topics. So if I'm looking at this across the 3 phases, it's land development, get the land ready, get the entitlements. It's building permit, get the permit to go vertical. Then the last phase is new construction, build the structure and get the structure approved. We're happy to go through each one of these steps, but today we went over just the differences between land development and new construction. You can reach us at resg.com. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Let's connect.